What are the top 5 Irish whiskies for under $50? Well, let's find out. I'm Matt, I'm the whiskey nerd, and like I said, this is going to be the top 5 Irish whiskies that you can get for less than €50. Now, I got the idea for this video because my buddy Doc over at Old Fashioned Ways, he put together a list of his top 5 bourbons for less than $50. And he asked me to put together a list of what I would count as my top 5 Irish whiskies for less than $50. Now, of course, I'm in Ireland, so I'm going to be calling it top 5 whiskies for less than €50. And that's kind of an important price point in Ireland because these whiskies right here, Redbreast and Green Spot, are typically going to be appearing on any top Irish whiskey lists because they are very nice. They've got a great age statement, full of fruit, full of spice, and really easy to enjoy. But they come in at about €60, so for the purposes of this list, they are automatically disqualified. So to count the whiskies that are qualified to be on this list, I went to a pretty great Irish whiskey store. It's called irishmalts.com. You can go on their website and you can get Irish whiskey and they will ship it wherever you are in the world. So I looked at their website and I saw what whiskies they have available for less than €50 and which ones I thought are good, especially at that price point. So let's get on with the list. And for picking out my whiskies, I decided that I would make the most use possible of that €50 limit. So a lot of my whiskies that I've chosen are going to be up around that €50 limit to really make sure I get some great whiskies on table, because this right here is the Powers 3-swallow release and it is a very, very nice Irish whiskey. It is a single pot still Irish whiskey, which is the style of whiskey that is unique to Ireland. So it is our kind of native spirit and it is a very tasty whiskey. It's got some great vanilla, kind of bourbon, caramel notes coming through, but also a bit of like banana fruitiness that comes through, as well as that nice rich kind of black pepper, baking spice, cloves, cinnamon that you do get with single pot still whiskey. So it is a great whiskey, and if you want to try out a good Irish whiskey for less than €50, this is definitely one to keep on your shelf. It comes in at about €45 and it is a very, very tasty whiskey for that price. But next on the list, let's go for a slightly cheaper whiskey, but there's not any less tasty for being a little bit cheaper. This is the Complex Blend, the first cut whiskey from Two Stacks. They are a newer kind of whiskey producer on the market and they have kind of exploded onto the scene thanks in part to this whiskey and their dram in a can, which is this whiskey put into a can, so it's very, very portable. This is a complex blend of whiskey. It's mostly grain whiskey. It is obviously sourced whiskey. They sourced it from the Great Northern Distillery. It is 80% grain, of which was aged in virgin oak casks and bourbon barrels. There's some pot still whiskey in there, there's some malt whiskey in there, and there's some peated whiskey in the mix there. So it does have a lot of kind of complexity to it. There's some fruity notes in there. Some of it was aged in sherry casks. You get a little bit of a hint, like a little bit of a hint of smoke coming through. And it's a very nice whiskey. It comes in at less than €40, so it is a very nice whiskey, very easy to enjoy. It also comes in at 43%, I believe. Yeah, 43% alcohol, so it is a little bit higher proof and you're getting a very, very tasty whiskey for that price. Next up, I wanted something a little bit malty, a little bit kind of heavier going than some of those whiskeys there. So I was originally thinking of going for Blackbush. Blackbush is Bushmills. It's kind of their premium entry-level whiskey. It's very nice, heavy amount of malt in there. It is a blended whiskey, but it's a lot of malt whiskey in there and a lot of sherry aging in it. But then I kind of thought to myself and I said, you know what? The 10-year-old single malt is also available. It's only a little bit more expensive, but it does get you that 10-year age statement, and it is a very, very easy drinking whiskey. But then I thought about the wider Bushmills portfolio and I realized there's another whiskey in the Bushmills portfolio that is just as nice and is probably very deserving of a spot on your shelf. This is the Sexton. It doesn't say Bushmills on the bottle, but it is made by Bushmills. This is a single malt Irish whiskey that was aged exclusively in Oloroso sherry casks. So it has that sherry influence from the Bushmills Black Bush, but because it's entirely single malt, it is nicely rounded out. It doesn't have the 10-year age statement of the Bushmills 10-year-old, but the Bushmills 10-year-old is not boring, but it's just not exciting. This, because of that sherry influence, it's got lots of fruity notes, it's got lots of kind of nuttiness. It's a little bit more complex than the Bushmills 10-year-old, I think, in my own opinion. But this is also actually, I think, the best-selling Irish single malt in America, so there must be something to it, because it is a very nice, very tasty whiskey. Comes in at €45 if you're paying the price in Ireland, so it is very, very tasty, very drinkable, but sometimes it's not the easiest to pour because of the shape of the bottle, but don't let that hold you back. It's a very tasty whiskey. But for something a little bit sweeter, I thought to myself about the Teeling Single Grain. You can get the Teeling Small Batch Blend for cheaper than this, yes. This does come in at about €45 again, but it is a very nice whiskey. It's a single grain whiskey, and I do have a soft spot in my heart for well-made grain whiskey. You can make grain whiskey cheaply. It can be kind of ethanol forward, it can take stuff kind of nail polish remover and not be tasty, or you can make some very nice grain whiskey, and this is a very nice grain whiskey. It's 95% corn, 5% malted barley, aged in bourbon casks, and then finished in red wine casks, and it gives it that really nice, rich, almost pink, slightly red color, and as well as a lot of flavor. So you get that bourbon note, you get kind of buttery creaminess from that grain whiskey, but you also get some nice red berries and some nice fruity notes coming through. So this is a very nice whiskey, and if you're not really familiar with grain whiskey as a category, this would be one to try out. And lastly, I'm going to talk about Jameson Black Barrel. This is a very nice Irish whiskey. It is a blended whiskey from Jameson, so it is a blend of single grain and single pot still whiskies. They were aged in bourbon casks, they were aged in sherry casks, and finished in some extra heavily charged or recharred bourbon casks, hence the name the Black Barrel, because they recharged those casks to get some extra vanilla, caramel, and a bit of spice coming through. And it's a very nice whiskey. Like, it's a very good sipping whiskey, but it's also very good in cocktails, like a whiskey sour, like an old fashioned. It does deliver a lot of flavor, and is one of those whiskeys that if someone is just thinking, I'm not familiar with whiskey, I don't really know what I want to drink, Black Barrel can deliver a very nice drinkable whiskey. But at the same time, if you're looking for something a bit more complex, it can also deliver that. It does have the name recognition of Jameson, very versatile. It does come in at €50, so it is going to be the most expensive of the whiskies on this table, but it is a very nice whiskey, and if you're looking for good Irish whiskies, you really do have to try out Black Barrel to see if you like it and see if you don't like it. And speaking of whiskies you might or might not like, what do you think of these 5 whiskies I have on my table? Are there Irish whiskies for less than €50 that you would choose? Let me know down in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you have any different ideas? Let me know, because I'd love to hear from you. I put out whiskey reviews on Wednesdays, I put out cocktail recipes on Fridays, and I put out kind of fun videos like this every now and then on Mondays. So if you want to see more like this, make sure you scroll down, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Sláinte.